Okay, so our lesson today, the very first lesson, is multiplying and dividing by 10, by 100, and by 1,000. What do those three numbers have in common? They do. What else? Aiden? They have zeros. And the zeros, Brendan, are the most important part. The most important part. Because we learned that when we multiply something that has zeros, what do we do? First we ignore them. That's right. And then we put them back into the answer. So that's what we're going to work on today. So, question. What's the rule for multiplying by 10, by 100, and by 1,000? Well, we're going to focus on those zeros to help us. So the first question is, this girl, she needs to buy some ingredients because she probably works in a restaurant or a store or something like that. But sometimes when you work in a place like that, you have to buy in bulk. Buying in bulk means that you have to buy a lot of it. Sometimes if you live in a big family, you buy things in bulk. So we are going to ask how much is she going to spend on each ingredient if she joins these equal groups with how much she needs to spend. So we want to find the cost of each ingredient. If she has to buy 10 pounds of pecans instead of just 1 pound, and if she has to buy 100 pounds of flour instead of just 1 pound. So all we need to do, let's start with the pecans. How many zeros do we have in the number we're multiplying by? Emma? 1. So here's the trick. We count those zeros, 1, and we move our decimal to the right because we want to make our number bigger. Darius, we want to make our number bigger. So we're going to take this decimal and we're going to move it 1 spot to the right, and that's our answer. 28 point, how are we going to say this? Well, this is money. How would you read that? $28 and what? 90 cents. This would not be the way to write it. Because that looks like, oh, is it supposed to be 9 cents or 90 cents? We definitely, when we're using money, need to put in the total dollars. Okay, so let's move up to the other problem. Again, we're going to move our decimal to the right. How many zeros are in our multiple? Natasha says 2. So let's take this. 1, 2. I'm going to put it nice and big and fat so I can read it. 45. Does that look funny? Yeah. So what could we put after it to make it look like a real amount of money? Dathan? Sure. That way we know 0 cents. It's as simple as this. This is what we're doing today. This is what we're doing today. Well, I don't know if there's anything harder. You'll have to tell me if you think there's something harder. Let's take a look at this problem. No numbers that we're real familiar with right here. Our 10 is easy. How many zeros are there in 10? 1. So that means we take our decimal and we move it 1 spot. You see I'm making these little humps. They look like waves. Yeah, we want to go like this. So now all you need to do for your answer is recopy this the new way. 0.09. That's your answer. I'm not kidding you. Well, it might get a little harder. Let's just wait and see. Can anybody do this one in their head? Aaron? How many spots would you move the decimal? 2. So if you do that, what's that new number going to be? That's it. Yeah. You know, most people, when they write a whole number, they don't put a decimal at the end, right? When you tell somebody how old you are, or if you write down how old you are, you don't ever put a decimal at the end. But the truth is, Darius, there is a decimal at the end of every whole number. We just don't always write it, Brendan. Can you please lay that down now? Thank you. Put your hands on your lap. This is the same thing as this. No different. So there's our answer. Either one of those I would accept. Okay, now, little tad bit tougher. How many zeros? 3. Okay, now I don't have room here. So I'm just going to recopy this up here. I have to move this 3 spots to the right, but I don't have anything over there. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Don't forget to fill in that. What do I do with those empty spots? Aaron? Yeah, we put in zeros. So what is that number? It is. It's 3,100. If you want to put the decimal at the end, great. If you don't want to, fine with me. One more before we pull out the iPads to do some practice together. Everybody should be able to do this one in their head. Brendan? Say it again. Okay, how many zeros do we have? 1. Let's move it 1 spot. Can you read me that number? I'll rewrite it down here. How about that? Do you know that number? 74 is correct. That's it. Okay, grab your iPads, open up to a blank screen. I guess that's optional. Just pass them out, okay? We don't have much time here. All right, please open up to a blank page, and here is your first problem to copy down. Here it is. Get to work, everybody. Aiden. Are you ready? Okay. Will, get going. I will tell you that we have found over the course of the last few weeks since we've had these stylists that the notebook page does not work great with stylists. The explain everything probably works the best. Notability isn't quite so bad. But the stylists are they are just cheap ones. So how many of you got one of your own? Those of you who got some of your own, does anybody mind telling me how much they cost? Okay, 13, that's acceptable. Did anybody get anything cheaper than that? $1 per each one in a bag, okay. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so don't forget to put that on your Christmas list if you would like your own. Okay, here we go. Everybody should have this down. Today, secret password is Buck. Now, Miss Eileen, you can't change these numbers to anything different. The only thing you can do is move your decimal and add zeros. So you put a totally different number here, which can't be possible. All right, Buck, everybody turn yours toward me. Dathan, I think you need to take a look at yours. How many zeros, everybody? 2. Nobody should be erasing. 1, 2. Now you take this number and you copy it. This is your answer. That's it, right there. Now, if you chose not to put the decimal at the end, that's okay. It's invisible. We know it's there. Next problem. 9.286 times 10. How many zeros, Eileen, were in that? How many zeros? So how many spots did you move it though? Yeah. Honey, you count the zeros. That means you can only move it one. That's what you do. You count how many zeros and then you move it that amount of spots. One. If there's 1 0, you move it 1 spot. If there's 2 zeros, you move it 2 spots. If there's 3 zeros, you move it 3 spots. No. Put a dot there. There you go. Now, today on your work, I will expect to see some work, and I will expect to see the decimal move. So 1 0, move it 1 spot. I have to see that dot. It's going to have to be big and fat and thick. In fact, those of you on your iPads now, will you please over-exaggerate where your decimal is? Because from up here, it's very hard for me to see it. There's your answer. 92.86. Buck. Way thicker than that. I can't see it. Natasha, I can't see yours. Aaron, I can't see yours. This is what I mean, guys. The decimal needs to be big and fat because I can't. I'm 41. I can't see so well anymore. Okay. Brendan, how many zeros were there? You didn't move your decimal. You just copied it and thought you were done. How many spots were you supposed to move your decimal? I'm going to have you switch to back there in that corner. Okay. All right, moving on. Well, thank you. You get an A. Okay. Now, as you do a problem like this, if you don't have enough space, you can rewrite the number down below it. Brendan, please write the problem. You need to. You can write it for him if you'd like to. How many zeros were there, Eileen? And how many spots did you move it? I'm just going to rewrite this number down below. And Buck. Nobody can erase. How many zeros? 1, 2. Nice and dark. Fill this in with a 0. My final answer is 540.
Did I do it?
Yep. That's okay. All right. Anybody have any questions on that one? Let's try to get through one more before my time runs out here. Again, you probably don't have space in here, so recopy it down below. Eileen, how many zeros? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Good job. Unless we're multiplying just by 1, it's not going to be the same as what we start with. Okay, here goes. Aiden, how many zeros? 3. I'm going to move mine 3 spots. 1, 2, 3. Make it nice and big. Fill in how many empty spots? 2 empty spots. So my final answer is 21,200. Excuse me. Okay. Now, I need to show you quickly a bad example of... Here's a bad example. We can't tell if the 2 is inside the hump or on top of it. We have to make sure that